So the questions, I know everybody holds them till the end, so please do that. I did provide a lot of material in your package, supporting material, and I'm definitely going to go over that because some of it's kind of dense. It's the underpinnings and what lies beneath the slides. So they're a little dense, so I didn't want them in the slides, but we'll hit the high points when we get to them. Okay, let's get it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Climate smart communities. I'm going to hit 5 major areas, and when I finish, you're going to be experts in this area, believe me. Okay. Oh, one thing I wanted to say before I started. This is listed as the Conservation Board's presentation, and it is because we worked on this kind of as a group. But I worked on the final slides, so any errors are mine, but there are no errors. So just want to let you know. Okay. We'll hit 5 things. What a climate smart community is, what it really is. There's a lot of misconceptions about what it is. Hopefully I can make it very clear to you. Why should we register to be a climate smart community? What's in it for us? What's the advantages? What's the cost? Why should we even think about it? What's in it for us? We're also going to look at which of our neighboring towns have already become climate smart communities, why they did it, how they did it, and what's in it for them. What's their benefit over where we are, because we're not yet a climate smart community. What benefits that they have that we don't have in terms of environmentally based grants or grants that do some of the things that we're normally doing anyway, as a matter of course, in making the town better. How to become a climate smart community, and who does the work? It's always resources. Do we have all the resources in the town? And I'm pretty sure I can show you that we do. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. What is a climate smart community? So it's a program. It's primarily run by the Department of Environmental Conservation of the state, but it's a program that, believe it or not, they don't have a lot of control over what you do. They have very little control over what you do, except the description of how you apply for the program. Once you get in, you're very open in the kind of things you do to qualify and move through the program. It was started in 2009, and it was an interagency initiative. By 2018, there was so much interest, they set up a web portal because they were getting so many applications, a web portal to set it up. And then in 2022, they added regional climate smart community coordinators, people whose main job is to work with people who want to get in the program, benefit from the program, and help them go through what they have to do and to identify opportunities. So that's a resource we'll talk about later. I've been in touch with our regional coordinator, and she's been incredibly helpful about telling me just how the program works and how to apply for it. What's in it for Webster? A couple of things. We know it provides grants and technical assistance. That's one of the things our coordinator does. She helps us identify appropriate grants and provides technical assistance for things that are appropriate for the community, things that are on our comprehensive plan, things that we're doing already that we could benefit from and possibly do better, since we're already going to do them, and put less burden on the taxpayers because those grants can offset some of that cost. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I like the idea of somehow taking the taxes that we pay to the state, and we do get some things from them, but this is a way for us to do things for the town and to take advantage and to recoup some of those funds that we put into state taxes to help us do things we're already going to do for our town, or things that we can do that will add to the quality of life here and not add any additional cost. And all of these grants and technical assistance kind of go to the major focus of the climate smart community. It's that whether or not you have a firm idea of what you think is causing climate change, there is climate change. So I'm not going to debate that, but that's something that things are different. You can either adapt to it or ignore it and let it kind of run over you. And you can also do things that help reduce some of the things that add to climate effects on a local level. This is a local program, even though it's funded by the state, and they're very aware of that. Okay, let's get into what are some of the advantages, and these are pretty clear advantages. I mean, these are granting advantages, and these grants are all grants that tie in with initiatives that look at improving the quality of life that in spite of things that are happening in the environment. Pretty rainy yesterday. One of the things that happens in change with global warming is you get more water evaporation, you get more weather, you get more rain, you get more events. And I got soaked getting to my car yesterday and took about a half an hour to get home because I couldn't see where I was going. Just an aside. Okay, we've got grant programs listed. These are not all of them. We've applied for some of these in the past, the town, and we've done it pretty well. But about half of the towns in Monroe County are already climate smart communities. When they apply for a grant, depending on the grant, you can see CSC benefit on that right-hand column. The grant gets reviewed. The grant might have 80 or 90 or 100 points that the reviewers base their scoring on. If you're a climate smart community, you get extra points. And that would be a nice thing to have for some of these grants. You can get a very small amount of points if you're what we call a registered community. I'll explain that to you later. That's the easiest thing to do. It's the fastest, but you don't get very much benefit. It's saying, yep, we want to be on board, but we're not really doing much about it. If you look at that first column, you see 2 extra points for registered, 6 extra points for bronze. These are different levels. If you actually do some of the things that they have on a whole list of items, which are things we always do, I'll go into those in a minute, you actually get more points. And you have to take the first step to get involved, and it's fairly easy. I'll spell it out later. Climate smart community programs. We also planning grants to buy property. Didn't we just do some grants to try to see if we can get a grant to obtain some property to use and to preserve? These are grants that if we had that climate smart designation, we would start off ahead of any towns that don't. Right now, we're kind of at a disadvantage when we do these things because a lot of towns have that advantage and we don't. Let's take one more. I want to take a look and kind of define this. This is a little bit of a busy map, but the main point here, this is all of Monroe County. And this is one area we do compete with. We also compete on some grants with bigger things, but normally we compete with this area, with towns in this area for some of these grants, or this is the Finger Lakes region, all of these things that our consultant coordinator is responsible for. Monroe County is a little piece of that, and about half of the towns in Monroe County are climate smart registered. So we're not. Where's Webster? Missing in action. See that big question mark? We're not in the program. We're at a disadvantage when we go looking for grants, and that could be an issue. Okay. In the whole Finger Lakes region, there's about 45 climate smart communities, and that again is a little under half of the community. Let's see. Okay, now we're going to get to the nitty gritty. These are just some examples. These are just some examples of some grants that have recently awarded to towns, and these are climate smart community grant based. The first one is Gates. It's a fairly big one, but it was over 2024, 2025. Gates is kind of a pretty good example when you start talking about this part of New York State. It's done pretty well. They've very gradually done a really focused program to look at programs that they normally would have already done in their community. How can they get some help from the state to do this through these programs, and also be kind of a leader and looking at how do we plan for changes that might affect Gates based on changes in climate. And that's what all these grants do. I'm going to hit some more later, but this is a main one. This is a vulnerability assessment just to take a look at things, what might happen and what will probably happen, And before it happens, like the library thing, let's not look for a place to build a library and spend the money 6 months before we have to do it. Let's plan ahead and look at things that could happen and try to figure out how we could reduce the impact. The second two are 2026 projects. The City of Rochester just got a big grant to add off-street bicycle and walking lanes. And the deal was that if you could have them in areas that are normally a lot of local car traffic, especially going to schools perhaps, or to shopping areas that are near communities, that you could reduce the amount of travel by cars and make the place more pedestrian friendly. I know we're thinking of some of that pedestrian friendly changes, both in the hamlet and in when we talk about the comprehensive plan, thinking about how do we get some sidewalks in areas that will make movement along those areas of pedestrian traffic and safer, and also cut down on the use of cars. Excuse me. Ontario County recently won the whole county for a $60,000 grant, not in Monroe obviously, but nearby, to develop an organics waste management plan. Does that sound familiar? I'm wondering. I have a tendency to wander when I get in front of a microphone. Okay. We have a big program now that's a really excellent program on waste management, a new treatment plant, working with Fairlife, a lot of good things that go on there. And there are grants for counties. This grant was to decrease the total volume of waste because they knew that their processing plant was going to be going offline. Different situation, but that's another place where we did get funding, but maybe we could do better. If you take a look, I didn't bring this up. I gave you in your package one thing that I wanted to take a look at, because this is a press release. January 2nd, 2026, DEC announces more than $22 million for Climate Smart Communities Grants Awards. Climate Smart. It'd be nice if we had that designation. I'm just going to point out a couple of them. It's not all about the grants, but that makes it nicer, and it costs the citizens of the town much less. I'm going to point out a few. Let's go to, they're organized by area. Finger Lakes, you can see again that City of Rochester one, and the Ontario County one. Let's see some other ones. If you look at Long Island, which is the next grouping, the town of Brookhaven just got a $500,000 grant for land acquisition to preserve natural areas. And I know we're looking to do the same thing. So those grants are out there, and they'd get a better chance of getting those. Where's another one? You can see a lot of them as you go through that are sidewalks and bike improvements, but there's one I wanted to point out. I don't want to belabor this. Where was it? There was one sidewalk, Woodstock. Okay. If you go another page or two, looking at the main title, Mid-Hudson. Go all the way down those Mid-Hudsons, and right near the end, almost to the end, the city of New Rochelle. Okay, $112 for citywide tree plantings. Again, if we're trying to make sure that we can keep pace, say, with trees that die from disease, trees that fall down, trees that have to be taken down because they're diseased or damaged, struck by lightning, run over by cars, it'd be nice to have some granting that we didn't have to bear the whole cost. So these are examples of things that are in this program. We may not choose to do those as part of our certification or part of our application, but there's a huge number of things that you can look at that would work with the town. So let's take a quick look at those. And the next slide, I believe, is how do we become a climate smart community? Okay, this slide is, we've got one thing I want to mention first. I was talking, when we talked about grant advantages, about 2 or 6 or 8 points or 10 points that you can get as a additional grant point. The points that I'm going to talk about that you have to get or that you're required to get in order to qualify for some of these levels are actually what we call action points. And I'll explain that to you. It took a little while for me to understand it as well. There are 3 rows and 2 columns, okay? Let's look at you've got a level. There's 3 different levels. And I want to really just talk about 2 levels to keep it simple. And then the required tasks you have to do to get to that level, and what they call action points. We'll get into those action points. Some of those points are things like energy savings, gradually move from incandescent to LED lighting on street areas and in buildings. I think we're doing that. So some of them are very simple and things that we're already doing. Develop a plan to have more efficient waste treatment. Sounds like we're doing that as well. We'll get into that in a minute. Okay, registered climate smart community, that's the easiest thing. That's the basic thing. You essentially have to do things that I've done just talking to the regional coordinator. You don't have to do any of these action points. You don't have to get involved in any of the looking up what you have to do. It's a simple thing that says, passing a resolution, which they call the CSC pledge, that says, yes, we think there might be something going on. We want to play. We want to participate, but there's no obligation to do anything more. It's the first step, and it kind of gets you in the system. So you say, yes, I want to be in the system. The town board does have to pass a pledge, and I have some examples for you. It's fairly simple, and you can modify it a bit. Designating a primary contact person, I've been doing that with that's already been taken care of. I've been doing that with our regional coordinator. Create an online profile. She's already started that for us, but it's fairly simple. That sets the stage if you want to go to the next level, but you're not committed to do anything. And build a climate task force. That's an ongoing thing. It sounds like a very ominous task, but that is essentially the conservation board and the community development group. You know, these are people who have some of a focus on it. That qualifies as the task force. So all of this has pretty much been done except the pledge. It just gets you something. The next level, certification, there's a couple. You have to do a little more, but it's not a whole lot more. You essentially have to look at this long list of possibilities that are customized. You can customize and pick and choose anywhere, any of 100 different actions, many of which we already do. There's no forced actions, and you have to complete them. We've done many of them. One of the other things I've given to you to take a look at is a pretty dense one. I don't know if you have, Josh, can you zip over to the spreadsheet, or is that something a little difficult to do? Okay, in your packet, there's a spreadsheet. We wanted to find out before we did this, and it's got a lot of columns and a lot of lines. It's a spreadsheet that looks at all of the different...
Sorry, Dennis, but it is running late, and since we are
Well, we
not
got about,
running through
got
the
2 slides.
certified sections right now, I do want to give the board time to ask you questions.
Okay, they'll be fast. Okay. The bottom line is, if you look at that spreadsheet, there's hundreds of actions. Many of them we've already done. Josh's group looked at what we've already done, and if we look at how many points we might get, we're already past the qualified points. So if we want to go to the next level, which I think is worth it, you get much more benefit, 3 times the benefit in points or 5 times. And a lot of the stuff has been done. It's a matter of putting it together and getting it in. We're already what you call bronze ready on the bottom. We could do that today. We could certainly do the first one today because everything is in place except a resolution by the board to do the first step. Okay. Who does the work? This is where everything meets the road. We do have a regional coordinator, and this is free advice, free technical advice, free training, free identifying appropriate grant opportunities and helping us put them together and ushering it through the system. So that's a resource that's incredible. Let's go to the real resources that might be more of a concern. Let's go to the town resources. That next slide. As we look at what resources we need to do this, I could not find any additional resources that we need to do this. As you can see on the top, We've got the Community Development Group. You've got me, the Conservation Board. That's already been done for registered. Putting together that big spreadsheet, some of the same people in Josh's group would be doing that. And it's really very no additional. It's designating people to work to put it together. So and there are other resources we could probably count on. I already have my eye on a couple of Josh's interns. We'll have to work on that if we need that to help a specific thing. And I know that there are a lot of Webster citizen groups that would be only too happy to work with us to help us identify opportunities that they might help with. Friends of Webster Trail and so forth, Green Webster. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, it was fast, and I only started about 5 minutes late because we were librarying, but that's okay. Climate smart community, right. What is it? Why should we do it? I think it's pretty obvious. It's A, the right thing to do. B, we're behind the 8 ball. C, we can do this and do things that will help make life better for the community, because many of the things we're already doing, and my question is always, why wouldn't we do it? Because we leave money on the table we've already paid into the state to do these projects. Why would we start off our grants on a back foot with other people ahead of us? Why would we do that? So hopefully you've got a pretty good idea. If somebody said, what is it? Why should we do it? What's in it for me? And who does the work? I would hope everybody would know that. So